3 months passed since the treaty signing. Amber went back to her regular duties at Earth Defense Headquarters. She thought about Neela often. Sometimes when she looked up at the stars, she wondered if Neela was looking back at Earth from her crystal city. The treaty had changed many things. Earth ships could now travel through Kelthari space. Earth got new technology to help defend against the Drenari. A small Kelthari embassy opened in Washington, D.C., but Neela had gone home after the signing. A different Kelthari named Ceylorn now served as ambassador. Amber was checking security reports at her desk when her phone buzzed. It was General Peters. "Lieutenant Walsh, report to my office immediately," he said. Amber hurried to the general's office, wondering what was wrong. When she arrived, she was surprised to see Ambassador Ceylorn there too. "Lieutenant," General Peters said, "Ambassador Ceylorn has a special request for you." The new ambassador nodded. He was older than Neela, with darker purple skin and gray streaks in his white hair. "A Kelthari ship arrived in orbit an hour ago," Ceylorn said. "Ambassador Neela has returned and asked specifically for you." Amber's heart jumped. "Ambassador Neela is back? Why?" "She did not share that information with me," Ceylorn said. His face showed no emotion. "But she insists on seeing you before she will meet with anyone else." General Peters frowned. "This is unusual, Lieutenant, but given the importance of our alliance with the Kelthari, I'm assigning you to assist Ambassador Neela during her stay." "Yes, sir," Amber said, trying to hide her excitement. A car took Amber to the Kelthari embassy. It was a strange building, made of the same crystal-like material as their ships. Inside, the air smelled like flowers and sea salt. A Kelthari guard led Amber to a round room with windows that looked out over the city. Neela stood by one window looking out. She wore a simple blue robe and her purple skin seemed darker than Amber remembered. "Ambassador Neela," Amber said formally, "it's good to see you again." Neela turned and Amber gasped softly. Something was different about her. The sparkles in her skin moved in strange patterns like waves across her face and hands. And she moved more carefully as if she was carrying something fragile. "Amber Walsh," Neela said with a small smile. "Thank you for coming." The guard left, closing the door behind him. As soon as they were alone, Neela's formal manner dropped. "I have missed Earth," she said, "and I have missed our conversations." "I've missed you too," Amber admitted. "But why did you come back? Is something wrong with the treaty?" Neela walked closer. "No, the treaty stands." "I came back for a personal reason." She paused, seeming unsure how to continue. "Do you remember our night in the garden? When we touched and felt that spark?" Amber nodded. "Of course. I've thought about it many times. So have I." Neela took a deep breath. That spark should not have happened. "It was unexpected. Did I do something wrong?" Amber asked, worried. "No. But something happened that night that our scientists believed was impossible." Neela placed her hand on her stomach. "Amber, I need to ask you a direct question, and I need you to stay calm when you hear it." Amber felt nervous suddenly. "Okay." Neela's black eyes seemed to hold galaxies as she asked, "Am I pregnant, human?" One night changed everything for both our species. Amber stared, not understanding at first. Then the meaning hit her like a physical blow. She sat down hard in a nearby chair. "Pregnant? But we just talked. We only touched hands. For my people, genetic transfer can happen through simple touch under very specific conditions," Neela explained. "But it should only work with compatible species. Humans and Kelthari should not be compatible. Our scientists are shocked." Amber tried to process this information. "So you're saying I'm going to be a parent with you from just touching hands?" "Yes, it appears your DNA has qualities we have never seen before. Something in human genetics is highly adaptive." Neela sat in a chair across from Amber. "I did not plan this, Amber. I would never do such a thing without consent." Amber put her head in her hands. This was too much to take in. She had just started her career. She wasn't ready to be a parent. And with an alien ambassador, What will the baby be like?" she finally asked. "We don't know," Neela admitted. "This has never happened before. My scientists need to understand how this was possible, and the Kelthari High Council wants to keep this quiet until we understand what it means." "Does your government think this is a good thing or a bad thing?" Amber asked. Neela was quiet for a moment. "Both, perhaps. My people have been struggling for centuries. Our birth rates are very low. We have been looking for compatible species to help us survive. So I'm part of some breeding program? Amber felt angry suddenly. No! Neela reached for Amber's hand, then stopped herself. No, the diplomatic mission was real. What happened between us was unexpected, but... She paused. Not unwelcome, to me personally. Amber looked at Neela closely. The alien woman seemed sincere, and maybe even a little scared. What do you want from me now? Amber asked. I need your help. Will you come with me to my homeworld? Our scientists need to study this pregnancy, and... Neela hesitated. I would like you to be there for the birth. This child is both of ours. Amber stood up and walked to the window. The sun was setting over Washington, D.C. Just 3 months ago, her biggest worry was making a good impression on an alien ambassador. Now she was facing the possibility of being the first human to parent a half-alien child. I need time to think, she said. Of course, Neela said. But we don't have much time. My ship... A loud alarm suddenly cut through their conversation. Red lights began flashing throughout the embassy. What's happening? Amber asked, her training kicking in. She reached for the gun she always carried. Neela touched a crystal on her wrist. A hologram appeared showing a Kelthari guard. Ambassador, we have detected 3 Drenari warships entering Earth orbit, the guard said urgently. They have dropped their cloaking shields and are targeting the embassy. Impossible, Neela whispered. How could they know I'm here? Know you're here? Why would they care about you specifically? Amber asked. Neela's hand went protectively to her stomach. The child Amber. A hybrid with human adaptive genes would change everything in our part of the galaxy. The Drenari must have spies in our government. The building shook as something exploded nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. We need to get you to safety, Amber said, switching to her military training. Is your ship still in orbit? Yes, the Stellar Whisper is ready, Neela said. But how will we reach it with Drenari ships in orbit? The embassy has emergency shuttles in the basement, Amber said, taking Neela's arm. We can use one to reach your ship. Another explosion closer this time. The windows cracked. We must hurry, Neela said. Her skin was changing colors rapidly now, flashing between dark purple and blue. The pregnancy accelerates under stress. As they ran toward the door, it burst open. A Kelthari guard stumbled in, bleeding from a wound in his chest. Ambassador, he gasped. Drenari soldiers in the building. Coming for you. He collapsed to the floor, dead. Amber pulled her gun out and checked the hallway. We need another way out. Is there a back stairway? Neela nodded and led Amber to a hidden door behind a wall panel. As they slipped through, they heard heavy footsteps and strange clicking noises coming down the main hallway. The Drenari had arrived. The stairs lead to the shuttle bay, Neela whispered as they hurried down. But the Drenari will expect that. Then we'll have to be faster and smarter than they expect, Amber said. She had trained for emergency situations, but never thought her first real battle would be protecting a pregnant alien ambassador carrying her child. As they descended deeper into the embassy, the sounds of fighting grew louder. Earth's future, and now Amber's personal future, had just become much more complicated. Amber Walsh stood tall in her blue uniform. Today was a big day. As a new officer in Earth's Defense Force, she never thought she would meet aliens so soon. But here she was, waiting at the landing pad for the first ever Kelthari ship to visit Earth. The ship looked like a giant diamond. It shimmered in the sunlight as it landed without a sound. Amber felt her heart beat faster. This was history happening right in front of her. Remember, Lieutenant Walsh, said General Peters beside her. Ambassador Neela is very important. Show her our best side. Yes, sir, Amber said. She had studied for weeks about the Kelthari. They looked almost human, but their skin was purple and they lived for hundreds of years. They had technology far beyond Earth's. And now, with the scary Drenari Empire getting closer to Earth space, the Kelthari might be humanity's only hope. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. A tall figure stepped out. Amber tried not to stare, but it was hard. Ambassador Neela was beautiful in a strange way. Her skin was deep purple with tiny sparkles that caught the light. Her eyes were large and completely black, like they held the night sky inside them. She wore simple white clothes that flowed around her body. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Neela, General Peters said with a bow. Neela smiled. Her teeth were white, just like a human's. Thank you for your welcome, General. I look forward to working together. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind blowing through chimes. "This is Lieutenant Amber Walsh," the general said. "She will be your guide during your stay." Amber stepped forward and bowed like she had practiced. "It's an honor, Ambassador." Neela turned those star-filled eyes to Amber. "The honor is mine, Lieutenant Walsh." For the next week, Amber took Neela everywhere in Washington, D.C. They visited the White House, the monuments, and many meeting rooms where important people talked about peace treaties. Neela was always polite, but Amber noticed she seemed most interested in simple things. Trees in the park, birds flying, children playing. "Your world is so full of life," Neela said one day as they walked through a garden. "My planet is much older. We have fewer wild things now. Do you miss your home?" Amber asked. Neela looked up at the sky. "Yes, but I also find Earth exciting. Your people are young. You feel things so strongly." Amber didn't know what to say to that. The Kelthari were known for being calm and logical. They rarely showed emotion. But sometimes, when Neela thought no one was looking, Amber caught her watching humans with something like longing in her eyes. On the night before the big treaty signing, the president hosted a party. Everyone important was there: military leaders, politicians, scientists. Amber stood in the corner watching Neela talk with Earth's leaders. The ambassador wore a dress that changed colors like oil on water. "Drink, Lieutenant." A waiter offered Amber a glass of champagne. "I shouldn't while on duty," Amber said. "Everyone is celebrating tonight." The waiter smiled. "The treaty will be signed tomorrow." Amber took the glass. One drink wouldn't hurt. But one turned into three as the night went on. By midnight, her head felt light and warm. "Are you enjoying the party, Lieutenant Walsh?" Neela appeared beside her suddenly. "Yes, Ambassador, and you can call me Amber if you want." "Amber." Neela said the name like she was tasting it. "Then you must call me Neela when we are not in official meetings." "Is it true your people can see the future sometimes, Neela?" Amber asked. The champagne had made her bold. Neela smiled. "Not the future exactly. We see possibilities, paths that might be taken." She looked around at the crowded room. "I find all the noise and people overwhelming sometimes. Would you walk with me in the garden?" The night air was cool after the warm party. Stars filled the sky above the garden. Neela looked up at them and sighed. "Do you recognize any of our stars?" Amber asked. "Yes, that one." Neela pointed to a bright star. "My home is near there. It looks so small from here." "What's it like?" "Your world?" Neela told her about cities made of crystal, oceans that glowed at night, and mountains that floated in the sky. She talked about her people's long history and their art and music. Amber listened, enchanted by both the stories and the way Neela told them. They sat on a bench under a tree. The moon was full and bright. "Your moon is beautiful," Neela said. "We have no moons." "I've always loved the moon," Amber said. "When I was little, I wanted to live there. And now you want to travel to the stars?" "Yes, that's why I joined the Defense Force. To see what's out there." Neela turned to face her. In the moonlight, her purple skin glowed. "There are wonders beyond your imagination, Amber, and dangers too. Like the Drenari. Yes, they destroy what they don't understand. They fear difference." Neela's hand moved closer to Amber's on the bench. "My people believe in finding connection, even in difference." Amber felt something strange in the air between them, like electricity before a storm. Neela's eyes seemed to pull her in, showing her galaxies and stars she'd never seen. "Your species fascinates me," Neela whispered, her voice softer than before. "We are more compatible than you might imagine." When Neela's hand touched hers, Amber felt a spark jump between them. It wasn't painful, more like a sudden rush of warmth and light. Neela's eyes widened in surprise. "What was that?" Amber asked. "I don't know," Neela said. She sounded surprised for the first time since Amber had met her. That has never happened before. They talked until the sky began to lighten. Neela told Amber about her childhood on a world with 2 suns. Amber shared stories about growing up on a farm in Ohio. Somehow, despite coming from different planets, they found many things in common. When the morning came, they walked back to the embassy building together. At the door, Neela paused. "Thank you for sharing your world with me, Amber Walsh," she said formally. "I will remember this night." Amber watched as Neela went inside to prepare for the treaty signing. She didn't know then how much that night would change both their lives. She only knew that something special had happened under Earth's moon, something that made the stars seem closer than before. The stairway was dark. Amber used the light on her phone to see where they were going. Behind them, they could hear shouting and strange clicking sounds. The Drenari soldiers were searching the embassy. What do the Drenari look like? Amber whispered as they hurried down the stairs. I've only seen pictures. They are tall, with hard shells like insects, Neela said, her voice strained. 4 arms, 2 legs. Very strong and very fast. They reached a landing and heard noises below them. Amber motioned for Neela to stop and stay quiet. She leaned over the railing and saw shadows moving on the floor below. Drenari, she whispered. At least 3 of them. We can't go down there, Neela said. Her hand was on her stomach again and her skin was changing colors faster now. Are you okay? Amber asked, concerned. The pregnancy, it responds to danger, Neela explained. We need to find another way to the shuttles. Amber thought quickly. Is there a map of the embassy? A way to see where the Drenari are? Neela touched the crystal on her wrist again. A small 3D map appeared, floating above her arm. Red dots showed where Drenari soldiers were moving through the building. There, Amber pointed to the map. Service tunnels that connect to the shuttle bay. Can we get to them from here? Neela studied the map. Yes, there's an entrance on the next floor down. Then that's our plan. Stay behind me, Amber said, gripping her gun tighter. They moved carefully down to the next floor. The door opened into a hallway with offices. It was empty, but they could hear fighting in the distance. Where are the Earth security forces? Neela asked as they moved along the wall, staying low. They'll be responding, but the Drenari hit us by surprise, Amber said. The service tunnel entrance, where is it? There. Neela pointed to a door marked maintenance. They reached the door and found it locked. Amber tried to force it open but couldn't. Stand back, she said, aiming her gun at the lock. Wait, Neela said. She placed her hand on the door and closed her eyes. The crystal on her wrist glowed brighter and the lock clicked open. Kelthari technology responds to us. Inside was a narrow tunnel with pipes running along the ceiling. They crawled through, trying to move quickly but quietly. The air was hot and smelled like oil. The shuttle bay should be just ahead, Neela whispered. Suddenly, the building shook with another explosion. Dust and small pieces of concrete fell on them. They're bombing the embassy, Amber said. We need to hurry. They reached the end of the tunnel. Amber pushed open a small door and they emerged into the shuttle bay. It was a large room with 3 small shuttles ready for emergency evacuation. But they weren't alone. 2 Drenari soldiers stood by the shuttles. They were exactly as Neela had described, tall with insect-like bodies covered in dark blue-green shells. Each had 4 arms ending in clawed hands, and they carried strange weapons that glowed with purple energy. Stay hidden, Amber whispered to Neela. She checked her gun. 6 bullets. Not much against alien soldiers with advanced weapons. Amber looked around and saw a control panel near them. Those shuttles, how do they work? They're automated, Neela said. You select a destination and they fly there. Perfect, Amber said. She pointed to the control panel. Can you start all 3 shuttles at once? Make them fly to different places? Neela nodded, understanding the plan. She touched her crystal to the control panel. It lit up with strange symbols. Neela's fingers moved quickly over the controls. Ready, she whispered. On my count, Amber said. 3, 2, 1, Neela pressed a final button. Alarm sounded as all 3 shuttles powered up at once. The Drenari soldiers turned, confused. Now run for the middle shuttle, Amber shouted. She fired her gun at the ceiling lights, plunging the bay into darkness except for the glow of the shuttles. They ran as fast as they could. Behind them, the Drenari fired their weapons. Purple energy bolts hit the floor and walls around them. One passed so close to Amber that she felt her hair singe. They reached the middle shuttle as its door was closing. They jumped inside just in time. The shuttle's engines roared to life. Where's it going? Amber asked as they strapped into seats. Nowhere. I set the other 2 to fly to different locations, but I only started the engines on this one, Neela explained. Smart, Amber said with a smile. Now we just need to get to your ship. She looked at the shuttle controls. They were all marked with Kelthari symbols she couldn't read. Can you fly this thing? Yes, Neela moved to the pilot seat. Her hands danced over the controls and the shuttle lifted off. On screens inside the shuttle, they could see the chaos they were leaving behind. The embassy was burning. Earth defense forces were arriving, engaging with Drenari soldiers on the ground. In orbit, Earth ships were moving to confront the 3 Drenari warships. This is bad, Amber said. This could start a full war. The Drenari want war, Neela said grimly. They've been looking for an excuse. The shuttle shot up through the atmosphere. Amber had never been in space before. Under different circumstances, she would have been excited. Now she just felt sick with worry. There's my ship. Neela pointed to a screen showing a beautiful crystal vessel floating in Earth orbit. It looked like a giant snowflake made of light. The Stellar Whisper. It's beautiful, Amber said. But how do we reach it with those Drenari warships up here? The Drenari ships were massive, dark shapes against the stars. They were firing on Earth's defensive satellites, destroying them one by one. The Whisper has stealth capabilities, Neela said, and it's faster than anything the Drenari have. As they approached the Stellar Whisper, one of the Drenari warships turned toward them. They've spotted us, Amber said. Almost there. Neela increased their speed. The Drenari ship fired. A beam of energy shot past them, missing by meters. The shuttle shook from the near miss. They won't miss twice, Amber said. They reached the Stellar Whisper. A door opened in its side and their shuttle slipped inside. As soon as they landed, Neela was out of her seat. Come, we need to get to the control room, she said urgently. They ran through crystal corridors that seemed to glow from within. The ship was beautiful but strange to Amber. Everything looked alive somehow, pulsing with light. The control room was a round chamber with no visible controls. Just a crystal chair in the center. Neela sat in the chair and placed her hands on crystal panels that appeared on the armrests. The whole room lit up, showing views of space all around them. Drenari warship-locking weapons, a soft voice announced. It seemed to come from the ship itself. Engage stealth and prepare for quantum jump, Neela commanded. The view outside changed as the ship's stealth system activated. The stars became visible through the hull, as if the ship was turning transparent. They can't see us now, but they know approximately where we are, Neela explained. We need to move away from Earth before we can safely jump to hyperspace. The ship moved silently away from Earth. On the screens, they could see the Drenari warships firing randomly into space, hoping to hit them. Where will we go? Amber asked. Lyra 9, Neela said. It's a sanctuary world. The Drenari can't follow us there. As they moved farther from Earth, Amber watched her home planet growing smaller. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. It looked so peaceful from space. Hard to believe a war might be starting. Earth's defense forces are engaging the Drenari ships, the ship's voice reported. On the screens, they could see Earth ships firing on the Drenari warships. It didn't look good. The Earth ships were smaller and less powerful. Will your people help Earth? Amber asked. Yes, the treaty requires it, Neela said. Kelthari warships are already on their way. But they are days away. Days? Amber felt sick. Earth might not have days. The Drenari won't destroy Earth, Neela assured her. They want to control it, not destroy it. Earth has too many resources they need. That wasn't very comforting to Amber. She watched as her planet disappeared from view, replaced by stars. We're clear for quantum jump, the ship announced. Engage jump to Lyra 9, Neela commanded. The stars outside stretched into lines of light, and Amber felt a strange pulling sensation. Then the stars disappeared, replaced by swirling colors. We're now in quantum space, Neela explained. We'll reach Lyra 9 in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Amber sat down heavily in a chair that formed out of the floor for her. I'm going to be in space for 3 weeks? I'm sorry, Neela said, but it's the safest place for us now. For the baby. Amber looked at Neela's stomach. It was hard to believe there was a baby in there. A baby that was somehow partly hers. I need to send a message to my superiors, Amber said. They need to know I'm alive and what happened. We can't risk communication while in quantum space, Neela said. The Drenari might track it. But once we reach Lyra 9, you can contact Earth. Amber nodded, understanding the danger. But she didn't like the idea of everyone thinking she was dead or captured. You should rest, Neela said gently. The ship will show you to a room where you can sleep. As if on cue, a path lit up on the floor leading out of the control room. What about you? Amber asked. I need to monitor our course, Neela said. And, she hesitated, the pregnancy requires certain procedures. The ship's medical systems will help me. Amber wanted to ask more, but she suddenly felt very tired. The adrenaline that had kept her going was wearing off. Okay, she said, but we have a lot to talk about later. Days turned into weeks on the Stellar Whisper. Amber learned to navigate the crystal ship, which seemed alive in ways she couldn't quite understand. Doors opened before she reached them. Rooms changed temperature to match her comfort. Food appeared that tasted like her favorite meals from Earth, though it looked nothing like them. The ship reads your body signals, Neela explained one day as they sat in what Amber called the garden room, a space filled with strange plants that moved gently without any wind. It wants you to be comfortable. It wants, Amber asked. Is the ship alive? Not like you and me, Neela said. But Kelthari technology is partly grown, not just built. It has simple awareness. Amber had many questions like this. Every day she learned more about Kelthari culture and technology. And every day she watched as Neela's pregnancy progressed much faster than a human pregnancy would. Why is it happening so quickly? Amber asked as they checked the baby's progress in the ship's medical bay. Neela's stomach was now visibly rounded. Kelthari pregnancies normally last 6 Earth months, Neela said. But this one is different. The human DNA is causing changes we didn't expect. On a floating screen above the medical bed, Amber could see images of the baby. It looked mostly Kelthari, with purple skin that already showed tiny sparkles, but its face was more human-like than Neela's with a nose and smaller eyes. Is it a boy or a girl? Amber asked. Neela smiled. Kelthari don't have those categories exactly. We start as one gender and can choose to change when we reach adulthood. Oh, Amber said, surprised. So our baby will choose? Yes, Neela said. Though with human DNA, who knows? This is all new territory. They spent hours talking about the future, what the baby would look like, what they would name it, where it would live. They had no answers yet, just questions. When they weren't talking about the baby, Neela told Amber about the Kelthari. They were an ancient species, over 1 million years old. They had once controlled much of the galaxy, but now controlled only a small part of it. We grew too comfortable, Neela explained. We stopped adapting. That's why our birth rates fell. That's why we need new genetic material. And that's why our baby is so important, Amber said, understanding more now. It proves humans and Kelthari can have children together. Yes, Neela said. But it's more than that. Early tests show the baby has both human adaptability and Kelthari connection to our technology. It could be the future of both our species. This made Amber nervous. The baby will be a person, not a science project, she said firmly. Of course, Neela agreed. My people would never treat a child as an experiment. But we can't ignore what this means for our future. By the end of the second week, Amber had learned to help pilot the ship. The crystal controls were strange at first, but they responded to her thoughts when she concentrated. You have natural talent, Neela said, watching Amber guide the ship through a field of space debris. Few non-Kelthari can connect with our ships this way. It's like the ship knows what I want it to do before I do, Amber said. That's how it should feel. Neela nodded. The connection goes both ways. They were now deep in what Neela called the void, a region of space with few stars. It was the fastest route to Lyra 9, but also dangerous. Strange energy patterns could appear without warning, and there were stories of ships that entered the void and never returned. Amber was at the controls when the first attack came. Alarms sounded throughout the ship as something hit them from behind. What was that? Amber asked, checking the screens around them. Impossible, Neela whispered, her skin paling to a lighter purple. Drenari patrol ship. They found us. On the screens, they could see a small Drenari ship following them. It was built for speed, all sharp angles and dark metal. How did they track us through quantum space? Amber asked. They must have placed a tracker on us before we left Earth, Neela said. Scan the ship, she commanded. The ship's voice responded, scanning. Foreign object detected on outer hull. Drenari quantum tracker. Can we remove it? Amber asked. Not while in quantum space, Neela said. We'd have to drop back to normal space, and that would leave us vulnerable. The Drenari ship fired again. The stellar whisper shook with the impact. Shields at 92%, the ship reported. Minimal damage. We're faster than they are, Neela said, taking over the controls. We can outrun them. The stellar whisper surged forward, its engines glowing brighter. The Drenari ship fell behind but kept firing. Most shots missed, but a few hit their shields. They're sending a signal, the ship reported. Calling for reinforcements. Can we block it? Amber asked. Attempting to jam their communications, the ship replied. For hours they played a game of cat and mouse with the Drenari patrol ship. The stellar whisper was faster, but the Drenari ship was more maneuverable. It would appear from different angles, fire a few shots, then fall back. They're trying to wear down our shields, Neela explained. They don't want to destroy us. They want the baby. Amber felt protective anger rise in her. They're not getting our baby. After 12 hours of constant attacks, they were both exhausted. The Stellar Whisper's shields were down to 67%, and the Drenari ship showed no signs of giving up. We can't keep this up all the way to Lyra 9, Amber said. We need a new plan. Neela looked tired. Her pregnancy was taking a toll, and the stress of the attacks made it worse. Her skin was changing colors rapidly, showing her distress. There's a star system nearby, she said, studying the ship's maps, uninhabited, but with a breathable atmosphere on the second planet. We could hide there, remove the tracker, and make repairs. Is it safe? Amber asked. Safer than staying in quantum space with a Drenari ship shooting at us, Neela said. They changed course toward the nearby star system. The Drenari ship followed, still firing occasionally. Preparing to drop out of quantum space, the ship announced. Brace for transition. The swirling colors outside the ship faded, replaced by normal space. Stars appeared, and a yellow sun grew larger as they approached it. There. Neela pointed to a small blue-green planet on the screens. We can land there. But as they moved toward the planet, 3 more ships appeared on their sensors. Drenari battlecruiser and 2 support ships, the ship reported. They were waiting for us. It was a trap, Amber realized. The patrol ship herded us here. Shields at 50% and falling, the ship warned as all 4 Drenari ships opened fire. We need to reach the planet, Neela said. The atmosphere will give us some protection and we can lose them in the clouds. Amber took over the controls again. I'll get us there. She guided the ship toward the planet, dodging energy beams from the Drenari ships. The Stellar Whisper was hit several times, but its speed and Amber's growing skill as a pilot kept them moving. Entering atmosphere in 10 seconds, the ship announced. The view outside changed as they hit the planet's upper atmosphere. Fire seemed to surround the ship as the air heated up from their speed. Shields at 35%, the ship warned. Divert power from non-essential systems to the shields, Neela ordered. The lights in the control room dimmed as power was redirected. Amber could feel the ship straining as they pushed deeper into the atmosphere. The Drenari ships are following us, the ship reported. 2 support ships only. The battlecruiser remains in orbit. They're not built for atmospheric flight, Neela said. We have the advantage here. They broke through the clouds into a stormy sky. Below them stretched an ocean that covered most of the planet. In the distance, they could see a small continent with mountains and forests. Head for the mountains, Neela suggested. We can hide the ship there. Amber guided the Stellar Whisper toward the mountains, flying low over the ocean. Behind them, the 2 Drenari support ships struggled in the planet's atmosphere, their movements clumsy compared to the Stellar Whisper's graceful flight. 1 Drenari ship turning back, the ship reported. The other continues pursuit. They're splitting up, Amber said. One's going back to the battlecruiser, which means the battlecruiser might come down after us, Neela said worriedly. We need to find a place to hide quickly. They reached the continent and flew over dense forest toward the mountains. The remaining Drenari ship was falling behind, but still firing whenever it got a clear shot. Shields at 20%, the ship warned. Hull integrity compromised in Section 7. What's in Section 7? Amber asked. Cargo bay, Neela said. Not critical. They reached the mountains. Amber flew between 2 tall peaks, then down into a narrow valley. The Drenari ship couldn't follow through the tight space and had to go around the mountains. There, Neela pointed to a reading on one of the screens. A cave large enough for the ship. 3 kilometers ahead. Amber spotted the cave entrance in the side of the mountain. It was barely big enough for the Stellar Whisper, but it would have to do. She slowed the ship and carefully guided it inside. The cave was dark and damp, but deep enough to hide the entire ship. Amber set the Stellar Whisper down on a relatively flat area of rock. Power down all non-essential systems, Neela ordered. Minimum life support only. The ship went dark except for a few emergency lights. The hum of the engine stopped, leaving them in near silence. They could hear water dripping somewhere in the cave. Will they find us? Amber asked quietly. Not if we stay powered down, Neela said. Their sensors can't penetrate this much rock. 5 days passed in the dark cave. The Stellar Whisper remained powered down, using only minimal energy for life support and to monitor Drenari activity outside. Amber and Neela spent most of their time in the medical bay, where Neela could rest comfortably as her pregnancy advanced rapidly. The Drenari ships are still in orbit, the ship reported on the morning of the 6th day, but they have stopped active scanning of the surface. They're being patient, Neela said. Her stomach was now very large and her skin shifted constantly between deep purple and lighter shades. They know we can't stay hidden forever. Amber had used the time to repair some of the damage to the ship. The Stellar Whisper had self-healing capabilities, but some systems needed help. Amber had learned quickly, guided by the ship's instructions. We need to contact Lyra 9, Amber said as she checked Neela's vital signs. Let them know we're in trouble. Any transmission would reveal our location, Neela reminded her. We can't risk it. Amber sat beside Neela's bed, frustrated. So we just wait until the baby comes? Then what? Neela took Amber's hand. The ship has detected a strange energy pattern in the mountains, about 20 kilometers from here. It might be a natural quantum gateway. A what? Amber asked. Some places in the universe have thin spots between normal space and quantum space, Neela explained. If this is one of those spots, we might be able to jump directly to quantum space without the Drenari detecting us. Is that safe? Amber asked, concerned. Not entirely, Neela admitted. Natural gateways are unpredictable, but it might be our only chance to reach Lyra 9 before the baby comes. They discussed the plan for hours. The risks were high, but staying hidden wasn't an option much longer. Neela's pregnancy was progressing too quickly, and the medical bay wasn't equipped for complicated births. We'll leave tomorrow, Amber decided, at night, when the electromagnetic storms in the atmosphere are strongest. That should help hide us from their sensors. That night, as Neela slept, Amber went to the control room to prepare. She studied the maps of the mountain range, planning their route to the possible gateway. It would be a difficult flight, staying low among the peaks to avoid detection. As she worked, the ship suddenly spoke. Warning. Drenari energy signatures detected on the surface, 7 kilometers from our position and moving closer. Amber's heart raced. Ground troops? How many? Detecting 12 Drenari life forms, the ship reported. They appear to be using handheld scanners. They're searching the caves, Amber realized. We need to leave now. She rushed back to the medical bay and woke Neela. The Drenari are coming. We have to go. Neela struggled to sit up, her large stomach making movement difficult. Help me to the control room. Together, they made their way through the dark ship. Amber supported Neela, who moved slowly and carefully. Can you fly? Amber asked as they reached the control room. I'll try, Neela said, lowering herself into the crystal chair. But you may need to take over if... She winced in pain. If what? Amber asked, worried. If labor begins, Neela said. The ship says it could start any time now. Amber felt panic rising, but pushed it down. She needed to stay calm. Just get us out of here. I'll handle whatever comes next. Neela placed her hands on the crystal panels. The ship hummed to life, systems powering up one by one. Drenari search party has changed direction, the ship reported. They have detected our power signature. Now 8 kilometers away and moving quickly. Can we outrun them? Amber asked. Yes, but the ships in orbit will detect us as soon as we leave the cave, Neela said. Then we go fast, Amber said. Head straight for the gateway. The Stellar Whisper lifted off the cave floor, hovering silently. Amber checked the weapon systems. The ship had defensive capabilities she hadn't used before. Shields at 40%, the ship reported. Weapons charged. Ready for departure. Neela guided the ship toward the cave entrance. Outside it was night. Rain fell heavily and lightning flashed among the mountains. Good weather for hiding, Amber said. Let's go. The Stellar Whisper shot out of the cave and immediately turned toward the mountains where they had detected the possible gateway. Behind them, alarms sounded as the Drenari ground troops spotted them. Enemy ships descending from orbit, the ship warned. Estimated interception in 6 minutes. We need more speed, Amber said. Diverting power from shields to engines, Neela said. Her fingers danced over the crystal panels, but Amber could see she was in pain. They flew through the mountains, staying low. Rain lashed against the ship and lightning crackled around them. The Stellar Whisper's stealth systems were working, bending light around them to make them harder to see. Gateway energy reading growing stronger, the ship reported. 15 kilometers ahead. On the screens, they could see 3 Drenari ships entering the atmosphere behind them. They were moving fast, weapons ready. They're gaining on us, Amber said. Suddenly, Neela cried out, doubling over in pain. Her hands slipped from the controls and the ship wavered in its flight. Neela, Amber moved to her side. The baby, Neela gasped. It's coming now. Amber took over the controls. Ship, can you fly yourself to the gateway coordinates? Affirmative, the ship responded. But manual control offers better evasive capabilities. Do your best, Amber said. She helped Neela out of the chair. We need to get you to the medical bay. As they made their way back through the ship, the stellar whisper rocked from side to side, evading Drenari fire. Amber could feel the ship straining to maintain its course while dodging attacks. In the medical bay, Amber helped Neela onto the bed. The ship's medical systems activated automatically, surrounding Neela with floating lights that monitored her condition. Birth process has begun, the ship announced. Unusual energy readings detected within the fetus. What does that mean? Amber asked, holding Neela's hand. Unknown, the ship replied. No comparable data in medical records. Neela's skin was now almost transparent, glowing from within. Amber could see light moving through her body, concentrating around her stomach. This isn't a normal Kelthari birth, Neela said between pained breaths. The human DNA has changed everything. The ship rocked violently as it took a hit from Drenari weapons. Shields at 30%, the ship reported. Gateway energy reading 10 kilometers ahead. Drenari battlecruiser moving to intercept. Amber was torn between staying with Neela and returning to the controls. What can I do to help you? She asked. Stay, Neela said, gripping Amber's hand tightly. The ship can fly itself. I need you here. Amber nodded and stayed by Neela's side as the birth process intensified. The light inside Neela grew brighter, and her skin became more transparent. Amber could now see the baby inside her, surrounded by swirling energy. It's beautiful, Amber whispered. The ship rocked again with another hit. Shields at 20%, the ship warned. 5 kilometers to gateway. Drenari ship's closing, Neela cried out as the energy around the baby pulsed brightly. The medical systems beeped urgently. What's happening? Amber asked. The child is connecting with the ship's systems, the ship reported, its voice sounding surprised if that was possible for a ship. Suddenly, the stellar whisper surged forward with unexpected speed. On a nearby screen, Amber saw their velocity increasing far beyond what should have been possible. Ship, what's happening? Amber asked. The child is enhancing the ship's quantum drive, the ship replied. Performance exceeding design parameters by 300%. Neela looked at Amber with wide eyes. The baby? It's helping us escape. Another hit from Drenari weapons, harder this time. Shields at 10%, the ship reported. Hull breach in Section 3. Sealing now. Gateway 2 kilometers ahead. The light around Neela pulsed in rhythm with the ship's engines. The baby was somehow connecting with the ship, using abilities neither human nor Kelthari had alone. One more push, Amber encouraged Neela. You can do this. With a final cry, Neela's body arched as the light reached its brightest point. The ship's systems surged with power, and for a moment everything seemed frozen in time. Then, with a flash of light, the baby emerged. A tiny, perfect being with Neela's iridescent purple skin but human-like features. Its eyes opened immediately, revealing irises that seemed to contain galaxies. At the exact same moment, the ship reached the gateway. The screen showed a swirling vortex of energy opening before them. Gateway reached, the ship announced, entering quantum space. As Amber held the newborn baby, the stellar whisper plunged into the quantum gateway. The ship shuddered violently, systems fluctuating as they passed through the natural phenomenon. Warning, gateway unstable, navigation systems offline. The baby in Amber's arms glowed with the same energy that powered the ship. Its tiny hands reached toward the ceiling, and suddenly the ship stabilized. Navigation systems back online, the ship reported, sounding almost confused. Course to Lyra 9 plotted and locked. Neela, exhausted but conscious, looked at their child with wonder. The baby is guiding the ship, she whispered. It knows the way home. The Drenari ships couldn't follow them through the unstable gateway. Within moments, they were safe in quantum space, on course for Lyra 9. Amber looked down at the tiny being in her arms. It wasn't crying like human babies did at birth. Instead, it seemed calm, curious, its galaxy eyes taking in everything. Is it a boy or a girl? Amber asked.